AEW has brought in Ric Flair. Now, if you have been listening to me since I started this podcast, or if you're familiar with me in any way whatsoever, of course, you know that this is not going to be something that I'm happy about, is it? No. So last week, on Wednesday, I did a tweet. I'm going to be egotistical and read this tweet out to you. I said, being a woman is thinking about all the things, people you have to ignore, shove to the back of your mind, or give a pass to in order to have any chance of success in a world that is built for them and not you. Did I know Ric Flair was coming into AEW when I wrote that tweet? No. Might I be psychic? Yes. I wrote that tweet because I'd been doing some like thinking and personal writing. Like I've said before, I'm writing kind of a essay collection / memoir about wrestling stuff. And yeah, so that's what spurred me to write this tweet. I've been thinking about that. But anyway, this Ric Flair now being in AEW is a great example of what I was saying on that tweet. Are old men ever really cancelled? So there was the Dark Side of the Ring episode about Ric Flair. I think it was in 2021. And in this, the episode was about Plane Ride from Hell, right? So in this, we had a flight attendant. Her name is Heidi Doyle. She alleged that Ric Flair had nothing on under his robe, like flashed her on the plane, alleged, and made her touch him, alleged. And the episode, like, it was a really hard watch. Like this story was absolutely horrible. It was horrible. And I think many people, when they watched it, were like, yeah, Ric Flair is a wrong one that we should probably shove aside now. I always thought, though, it was funny when I was watching the episode. And I'm saying funny because sometimes you can only laugh at certain things. I did think that some of the people involved in this episode, I kind of got the impression that they didn't think what Ric Flair did was that bad or would be seen that badly. They agreed to be involved in this episode. So there's a lot to unpack here with Ric Flair. First things first, like, I've heard people say, and people I like very much say this, we all knew about Ric Flair because Ric Flair's image has always been ladies' man / shagger. For me personally, and I have learned in the past few years that I have been, I'm not anymore, but I was extremely fucking naive when it came to stuff like this, like extremely naive when it came to the bad actions that people were capable of. So did I think that Ric Flair was doing the kind of things outlined in Dark Side of the Ring? No. And I do know that there are like certain stories about him that have been brought up in other people's books, but there weren't any that I was like really, really aware of. Like, I don't sit about reading like Ric Flair stories. Anyway, I'm not trying to put any innocence on myself or whatever. I'm just saying that my own naivete meant that, yeah, I thought Ric Flair, like a lot of other guys, was someone that slept with a lot of women, but I didn't think, and, cheated and all that kind of stuff, which is wrong. But, wrestlers. But I didn't think he was doing stuff that you saw in the episode. So the best I can say is I just thought that Ric Flair was like a bad boy shagger, which is what I thought of a lot of people with a similar reputation, until I became less naive. So I don't think it's really right to be like, we all knew Ric Flair was like really, really scummy, and we just can't, because of this episode now be like, oh, we're done with him now. Like, we should have always been done with him if we ever felt like that. I think that the Dark Side of the Ring episode made it very, very public in the wrestling world to the point where like you couldn't escape it and you couldn't not know at that point. So, and also that episode contained like the actual testimony of the woman. She was there telling her story. So whatever you might have known about Flair before, whatever you might have read in a book, I think it's very different when you hear a woman actually describe what happened to her, how it made her feel, and all of that. So even if you not quite believed stuff, even if you weren't quite sure of some other instance before, her testimony being out there should have been what made everyone say, okay, this is let's wash our hands of Ric Flair, really. But it's so hard to know like exactly what to do. I've heard someone say like, if this was like a criminal case, how much jail time would Ric Flair get for what he did? Probably not a lot. So due to that, does it mean that someone's career should be over? They should be cancelled? There's no right answer on all of this. But we've seen Hulk Hogan used by WWE. But the narrative in AEW is like, we would never use Hulk Hogan. And there's a lot of hatred out there for Vince McMahon. But Hogan and Vince aren't seen in the same way as Flair is. People have been like so done with Vince for a long time because of booking and how he's handled WWE. Hogan is just a giant fucking douchebag. Like Hogan is just not a likable person in any way. He's someone with like no redeeming qualities. But Ric Flair is immensely talented and one of the greatest wrestlers ever. So if you're to ask me who are the greatest wrestlers of all time, and I'm making like a top 10 or top 20 list, Ric Flair's definitely going to be in there. Like if I'm basing this on talent and contributions to the business and not looking into any personal stuff. But the thing is, he might be one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, if not the greatest wrestler of all time, greatest talker of all time, whatever. It might be the fact that it might be the fact that he doesn't deserve a lifetime cancellation. But for me, I don't think that there's any justification for Tony Khan bringing this man into AEW at all. Because frankly, AEW does not need Ric Flair. And when you add the fact that the company does not need him onto these accusations and what we know about Flair, there really is no reason for Tony to have brought him in. And it's very bad, I think, that he decided to bring in someone with these accusations that is so fucking unnecessary. Now, we're doing Sting's retirement. Ric Flair is very important to Sting, like in his career. Cool. Have him front row at Sting's last ever match. Let him make an entrance. That's all you had to do. Tony's getting a lot of flack because he made those comments about Vince McMahon a couple of weeks ago, which I praised him for. I love a good anti-Vince comment. But yeah, he does seem like a hypocrite now because he's brought in Flair. And Vince has accusations against him that are worse than those that Flair has. But still, and we know that Tony was going to bring him in before, but the reason he didn't was because of the dark side of the ring. So Dave Meltzer has said he and Tony had a verbal deal. Then after Dark Side came out, they decided it wasn't the right time. He was assuming Flair was going to be Andrade's manager. Then Dave adds that it's a TV contract year, and I think they're really trying to hotshot as many stars for ratings purposes because of name value and things. But by doing that, you're also aging the show with the nostalgia when it comes to TV ratings is usually a short drug, not a long-term thing. So to me, there is something really bad about just waiting for the dark side of the ring stuff to blow over. Like they're sitting there, they were sitting waiting for us to forget about dark side of the ring. And that's really bad. Because it means that you really did know it was wrong. You knew it was wrong to bring in Flair. But you're just hoping that we've all kind of forgotten why. I think I'd be, if they'd brought him in right after Dark Side of the Ring, I would have been really mad, of course. But I'm still mad at this. There's something that seems like sneaky about that. I mean, I've said this before, but was I the only person that truly believed AEW was going to be a progressive company when they launched? The first red flag was them using Mike Tyson, and I don't care how much society tries to make us think that Mike Tyson is a cuddly, cute guy that we should be celebrating. And I know he has quite the history in wrestling, but they've done stuff since now that has shown me that I was wrong about the progressiveness. It's so disappointing. And Rick has not done like the worst thing that anyone in wrestling's ever done, or like what we know. And I'm sure other people have done similar things to what Rick did that are still wondering about, that we don't know about. But like, what is the message here? Like, what is the message here? And I almost don't even know what to say, because I do understand that a lot of people will be watching this being like, Ric Flair's great. He's really fucking old. Look, just let him be on AEW. It doesn't matter. But these things do matter. They should matter. I don't know what the best way to handle Ric Flair in 2023 is, but I'm not sure we should be giving him more money and contracts and opportunities, especially when I really don't think he has anything to offer. Being a woman is thinking about all the things, the people that you have to ignore, shove to the back of your mind, or give a pass to in order to have any chance of success in a world that is built for them and not for you. And AEW has given me one more thing to have to ignore, put the back of my mind, give a pass to, in order for me to try and survive, make a way, make a living, and progress in this world. Because no, I'm not going to stop watching AEW. And maybe that makes me a hypocrite or a coward. But this whole wrestling thing is my fucking life. I'm coming up to 30 years of wrestling being in my life. So unfortunately, I can't just like let it go and walk away with it. I have to find a way to survive in this world. And if I was going to stop watching wrestling or leave the wrestling business, this Ric Flair thing would not be the straw that broke the camel's back. And I still watch WWE, and I was still watching WWE when Vince McMahon was there. Because that's what we do. And it sucks. It fucking sucks. But that's what wrestling is, and a lot of industries is. And that's what life is, until we're able to hold people accountable and follow through with consequences. I know that whole rant, that whole section was really, really messy, but I had not properly, perfectly worked out what I wanted to say, but I knew I wanted to say something. And yeah, I'm disappointed. I am disappointed. I know that when I'm editing this podcast, I'm going to think, should I take stuff out? And I know, given the level of anxiety that I live with, that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning after this is published in a panic because of things I've said. But I have to get past them, because I think I have to say this. I think that my life has taught me that I have to say this stuff no matter what the cost. And the more things happen, I'm starting to think that maybe that's why I'm here. The best transition is to say that in the first hour of Dynamite, we had Ric Flair, Chris Jericho, Sting, Matt Hardy, and Rob Van Dam. What is the average age here?